So this is a Lincoln Weld Pack 125, and I've had this welder for over a decade now, and almost everything you've seen me weld on this channel has been with this welder right here. The thing is, new project, new tool, right? So for the RX-7 build, I chose to get a new welder because I wanted to do nice welds on the RX-7. The thing is, it was kind of expensive, and I don't know if it was really worth it. So to help us figure that out today, we have Alan's welder, which is kind of in between those two welders, and it will help us determine if I made a good decision or if I need to drink, what do you think, a pineapple pickle beer, because I suck at choosing welders. So yeah, Lincoln Weld Pack 125, and I picked this up about 10 or so years ago from Home Depot. This is basically the cheapest MIG welder that a place like Home Depot or Tractor Supply or Lowe's sells. And there's a good reason for that. And that reason is this welder only does flux cord wire, which means there is no port on the back for gas. You cannot hook this up to gas. It's really just for, well, again, flux cord wire. And so the difference between flux cord wire and regular MIG wire is the regular MIG wire is supposed to have a shielding gas, and you'd have, you know, a tank just like that. You'd have your wire come through your gun, and the gas would come out around it and protect the weld as you weld. With flux core wire, there is no gas, so whenever the wire contacts the metal and you start welding, the flux in the middle of the wire does some magic, and it protects the weld as you weld. The thing is, though, it lets off a lot of splatter, so you wind up, so like we'll see it more in a second, but like little dots of weld everywhere, and it takes a while to clean up. So whenever I went to get a welder for the RX-7, I wanted to get one that used gas, but I may have kind of gone overboard. So this welder does up to, let's take a look at a cheat sheet. It does up to 5/16 inch thick steel. And so you've got your settings here. This is your wire speed, and this is your heat. It's just A, B, C, D. You look over here at your little cheat sheet, depending on what you're welding, and it will tell you how to set your welder. Now the next step up from that is a machine, like Alan has here, that does both flux core wire, and if you look on the back, you've got a port for gas here that it looks like he's never used. So you can do your flux core wire just like I've been doing forever, and apparently Alan has been doing forever too, or you can hook up a tank, and the same gun, if you take, it's a flux core tip. If you take this off, you'll see it's got the little holes on there for the gas, and you can put a different tip on there and weld with gas and non-flux core wire, so just regular wire. And theoretically, that gives you a better weld without splatter. If you look at Alan's, his is kind of the same way. You've got your heat settings right here, you've got your wire speed right there, and that's pretty much all there is to it. He also has a handy dandy cheat sheet inside that tells you all the different settings based on what thickness of metal you're welding. It looks like his only goes up to 1/4 inch, which that one said 5/16, but I wouldn't put too much stock in it. It welds good, but I don't know if I trust, well, my boat is hanging from a weld with this welder right now. But Alan's welder, yeah, so his welder is $650 in today's dollars from, I think he went to Northern Tool, something like that. And that brings us to the Miller. This is the Miller-Matic 255. And so first off, this one is just, it's fancy. It's got a fancy screen. It'll tell us a lot of different things here in a minute. But so clearly does gas, right? You can also, just like the other ones, if you wanted to, you could use flux cord wire with this, but it does a whole bunch of stuff. So we got steel, stainless, aluminum, and I think somewhere in here it even says, oh yeah, bronze. So it does a lot of different materials. Actually, Alan's, and I don't know that this one does. Alan's does aluminum too. Yeah, we got steel, stainless, aluminum. But with the Weld Pack, we're just talking regular steel. Although I've tried aluminum with it before. I just put aluminum wire in there. Didn't work so well. One of the reasons I like the Lincoln so much, and I've used it for so long, is it just runs on 115 volts. So like any household outlet you have should be able to power it. Alan's similarly running on the same sort of power. This guy though, the Miller, he is running off 230 volts, so you have to have a 50 amp outlet in order to use him. And then just looking at the guns here, they're all kind of different. So this is the Lincoln. It's just got, you know, your little flux core wire coming out of here. Alan has a flux core tip on his right now, but all you have to do is you pop that guy off, and then this is really hard to do one-handed. You can take your gas nozzle and throw it on there, and then the gas will come out of the nozzle whenever you hit the button and hook up the gas. The Miller, it's got the gas nozzle on there too, but just look at this thing. I mean, compared to the other guns, like there's Lincoln again, the Miller, here's the Hobart. Both of these have gas coming out of them, but just look how much bigger that gun is. It's kind of crazy. It hasn't been hard to fit in spaces yet, but I could see that being a downfall of the Miller, is just how big this gun is. So with this guy, yeah, you've got your handy dandy cheat sheet in here that tells you based on, you know, your wire thickness and your material thickness, what settings you should be at, but it just kind of does it for you. So over here, you got material thickness. We're just gonna choose, I don't know, 18 gauge. It's gonna set it for us. You can adjust your settings, like your heat and your wire speed if you want to, but I haven't found that I need to do that yet. This thing is pretty good. It has a whole bunch of settings right out of the box. So I've been welding with the Miller for about a month now, and I can already tell you, spoiler alert, it welds better than the Lincoln does right out of the box. So the welds look better, they're cleaner, there's like little to no splatter. I don't really know though, like are they actually stronger? So that's what we're gonna be testing today, like how strong are the welds. We're also gonna compare it to Alan's machine. I'm gonna hook the gas from this machine up to that machine, and we're gonna see, like, do you really need an expensive welder, or can you get away with something more like this? So it's just getting these things ready to weld. And you know when you ask your brother if you can borrow his welder and he brings it over and there is exactly no wire on the spool? Yeah, he did that. There's no wire on the spool. So first test we're gonna do is kind of like a fashion show. We're gonna see how good the welds look. We're gonna see how much splatter there is. We're gonna be using 0.035 wire in all the machines, so both flux cord and non-flux cord whenever we get around to that. We're gonna do the Lincoln, we're gonna do the Hobart. I expect that those two will be really similar with the flux cord wire. What I'm really looking forward to figure out is see how different the Miller is with gas from the Hobart with gas. And we'll see that here right about meow. And all the welders we're gonna set to whatever the cheat sheet says. So we have 14 gauge steel here. So we're gonna go with 0.035. We're gonna go with a 2.5D to get that done, which seems really fast. I usually go like 2 for like almost everything. We'll see though. All right, we're gonna be able to do that. So I set it to what Lincoln said, and we just we burned right through. I wasn't going that slow either. So we're gonna 14 gauge. We're gonna kick it down to C for the heat and try that again. Well, the results are in, and it turns out I can't weld. So, first problem we had here was the Lincoln. It burned right through, right? And so then I turned it down a little bit. It was doing okay until it got right at the end, and then it burned through again. But I mean, if you look at all this, like that's the splatter I was talking about. Like all these little metal bits would have to be sanded off or ground off, something like that. Then we went to the Hobart with the flux core wire. It was having the same problem about the middle here. It started burning through too. So I turned it down and it did just fine on its second pass, but again, flux cord wire, you can see both of them here. A ton of splatter, gonna have to clean that up later. So then we jump over to the Hobart with the solid core wire and gas, and you can see there's like no splatter here. We did not burn through. This was on the setting for, it didn't have a 14 gauge setting, so I put it on 16, and you can see the bead, it's really good, but it's a little high. It's like, kind of like the bead is sitting on top of the metal instead of sitting in the metal. And if you look on the other side, it does, like, it looks like it was going through, but I don't know. So I turned actually on this one, I turned the heat up, and you can see the bead started to expand a little bit. It looks like it's going more into the metal. Again, kind of looks the same on the back right here, but the Hobart with the gas did really well. Jump over to the Miller. Well, now we've got holes again. So yeah, I set it on 14 gauge. It started burning through about the middle. Then I turned the heat down a little bit, and it's still at the end, just like the Lincoln. It burned through. But if you look at the other side of this one, like it was definitely penetrating, like probably too much more than you want it to. So I did want to give the Miller one more shot, a chance to redeem itself. And so this was my last weld. I just kind of made the settings high. I wanted them to turn the heat down a little bit. You can see it's starting to go through on the back there. So I don't know. The Hobart with the settings the manufacturer recommends, I think I'm going to say it did better. Even though they look slightly kind of high and like maybe a little bit sketchy, it didn't burn through the metal, which is a plus. I mean, it's not a plus. That's like exactly what you want. You don't want to be burning through your metal. So the Hobart is doing good. At the same time that I was doing that, I went ahead and I welded some other test pieces. So this is welding 2 pieces of metal together. This is the Lincoln. I did have to go over this like twice because it was burning through, but we've got a good solid weld there. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go test these on the shop press and see when they break. So Lincoln welded together. Hobart with the flux core welded together also. We've got the Hobart with the gas. That one's looking pretty good. It looked like it was going through. You can see on the back here, it was definitely going through that time. And the Miller, this one, it did pretty good this time too. It didn't burn through like it was before. So the way this is gonna work, we have our plates that have been butt welded together here. We're gonna take them, we're gonna put them in the shop press. I'm going to crank down on this until it gets to just touching. All right, we're just now touching. And so we're gonna count how many pumps of this all the way up, all the way down it takes to break the weld. And the winner is the one with the highest number of pumps. 1, 2. So that was 17 pumps, but we're running into a problem where the arbor plates are moving out of the way. So I think we can reposition. Oh no, it's just gonna fall through. Huh. Well, here's the thing. It didn't break, but it deformed like this. Let's see what 17 pumps does to the other ones. So even though that didn't work exactly the way I wanted to, it was still kind of interesting. So both of the flux core welds, I did 17 pumps on them and they both kind of popped out at the same time. The gas welds, both of them only got to, I think, 12 and 13, and then they popped out violently. So if you look at these actually, these are the flux core welds right here. These are the gas welds right here. And you can see there's more of a circle on the 2 gas welds than there is on the flux core welds. They just kind of started to turn into a V. So I think what that means is these welds with the gas are stronger. And you can see they came through better all the way to the flux core welds. Like they came through in spots to penetrate, but these ones, they came through like almost consistently all the way down. So this one was the Hobart. This one is the Miller, and these ones, I think we're gonna say just like don't get a flux core welder and only use that, even though I've been doing it for like a decade, because the wire welders, they are, I mean, you can see it right here. It's better penetration, better weld quality, and they look better. There's not a bunch of splatter. I'm sure there might be like a welder out there who might still be watching and he's gonna be screaming at us, yes, gas is the way to go. Well, you know what? We just figured that out. Congratulations. So I'm gonna go ahead and say a machine like a Hobart. It doesn't have to be the Hobart. It can be any MIG machine. Well, maybe not any. I don't know if I'd use a Harbor Freight machine, but any reputable MIG machine that takes gas, definitely go for that over the one that only uses flux core. So $500 versus $650. Go for the 651. It will be worth it in the long run. Your welds are better. They're stronger. The Miller, if you need to do thicker stuff, go ahead and get it. It can do up to 1/2 inch. That one cannot. I do occasionally weld 1/2 inch, so it's not a complete waste of money, but if I had to do it again, I might go with a cheaper welder. Does that mean I have to drink the pineapple pickle beer though? I don't know. I have one idea for an experiment. If it works, I don't have to drink this pickle beer. If it doesn't work, it will be very obvious that I have to drink the pickle beer, and you'll see why in just a second. No! Well, as it turns out, you cannot TIG weld 2 pickle beers together, or at least I can't. Instead, what they did is they both simultaneously opened themselves at the same time. So I guess now we have no choice, but we have to take both pickle beers. You just kind of squeeze them out like that now. God. So that one's regular pickle beer. This one is the pineapple from earlier. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice and frothy. Actually, I guess I'll go ahead and open them and mix them. God, I was so hopeful too. I thought, y'all have pickle beer all over you. I thought for sure that would work and then we could have like a hybrid Frankenstein pickle beer of shame for like a really great failure, but instead, now I just get to enjoy this regular pineapple pickle beer abomination. It's all foam and it tastes terrible. But there is one thing we can take comfort in, and that's the fact that when they exploded all over Alan's welder. So I'm just gonna leave that. I'll just package it up and send it back to his house. And until next time, just remember, you can buy a welder like this. It's just gonna smell like pickle beer. See you next time. And today we're gonna find out, like, are they actually better welds? Do they hold up? That sort of stuff. That was a really loud noise. Oh look, there's a dump truck. And the UPS guy. Those are for a different project, but you know, we'll tell you about that later.